All right, pursuant to chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately assess the proceedings to the best of our technical abilities, and despite our best efforts and due to lack of technical infrastructure, a transcript or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings will be available as soon as possible after the meeting. So I call this meeting to order. All right. So the first order of business was reviewing sort of non-Article 6 items. I think everyone got a copy of the warrant that Rainey had sent out about a week ago. But there are, by my count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CPC articles that we need to vote on. And then 3 others that I think we should weigh in on, which is the beach lease, the PFAS article in the historic district. We can tackle some or all of them tonight. The only one I would hesitate, I wouldn't mind postponing on is PFAS. I really sort of want Candy to be here since she's our expert on that. But I think we can work our way through the other ones. Hey, Karen.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I got jammed up trying to get in. So,
No worries.
guys.
Yeah, I think I think we have a new passcode, which has been a little finicky.
Yeah, and last night I joined the meeting and I'm sorry, I had some of that information on the questions that they had, but I wasn't able to talk.
Oh, you know what, Karen, hi, sorry, this is Mary.
Oh, hi, Mary.
What happened with FinCom is we changed the structure. Sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to jump in on there, but I just wanted to address that. We changed the structure of our Zoom meetings so that they're now what are called Zoominars. And so when people join, they join as attendees, which means that you cannot automatically speak. It's an effort to address Zoom bombing that some committees have experienced and have had some pretty terrible interactions with some folks who have Zoom bombed some of the meetings. So we're trying to sort of manage that. If you ever attend and you're not able to speak, shoot a message in the chat asking to be promoted to a panelist, and the secretary for the finance committee can promote you to give you the ability to speak and participate.
Thanks, Mary.
Sure.
Yep.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, so I want to sort of start with the CPC articles. Mary just emailed out to everyone the slide deck that was used at the FinCom committee meeting, and I will share them on Zoom for everyone to see. I think that'll make it easier. Give me 1 sec.
Go grab some water.
All right.
Well, I feel like we already voted on these, but actually I attended the finance committee.
Yeah, I think I think made it easier on Holly to present them all, but yeah, we still need to circle back on them. So, the first one is Bluefish River, which is Article 18 in the warrant. So it's a $21,000 to replace the gangway and the float at Bluefish. And I wanted just to give you guys some background. One of the questions that they had last night at FinCom was, we've been dealing with float replacements on sort of a scheduled basis. I think we have our last float actually in this year's capital item at the town pier. And so the question was, why wasn't this one, part of the normal replacement schedule? And I think the answer is that it was just this one had available funds with CPC, so they went to this funding source, but it wasn't. You know, that was sort of the only reason given to.
I actually asked a question at that finance joint committee meeting, and I didn't get a satisfactory answer.
Okay,
Why do we even have this?
so
It's another one of these things that we, every 5, 6 years, we have to replace. Why? Why do we have it?
yeah, I didn't realize this was a town asset
I
either.
was given, apparently, somebody told me it was a gift at one time,
Got
and
it,
now we're replacing it all the time.
got it.
And the other thing is the biggest user, of it, as far as I can gather, with kids who jump off the bridge. And that's
Well,
a really.
You have
piss-poor reason.
you have recreational boaters that use it a lot too, and it's probably like a great, waterways. That would probably be great, but there wasn't enough money to be able to do it that way. But I will say, I do think you get kayakers, that you also have people with motorboats that get into the Bluefish and use that float.
And I guess one thing I would add is that there's, and we've sort of talked about it over the years, is there are a number of waterways access points that don't have anywhere you can sort of park your car, or like even put a bicycle in. You know, they've been sort of taken over by abutters.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and, you know, this is one of the very few that, you know, has a parking lot,
It
has.
does?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, little, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was gonna say 10, but yeah,
Where's it located then? Maybe I'm
The side of
missing.
the side of the firehouse.
yeah, right next to the firehouse. So you got
Bluefish
Bluefish Bridge,
Yeah.
and then the firehouse, and there's the dirt lot right next to it. And
I
this,
never noticed that dirt lot.
and then the gangway goes down from there, and then.
Is that a dirt lot that's buried at high tide or
No, well, I mean, probably a
super high tide?
super high tide.
You
for
know
sure.
what? It actually, it's the problem in that area, it's low tide. So that it gets really low and there's not a lot you can do, but that parking area is always accessible. And a lot of people use it to go out and kayak.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely parked my car in the lot there, and use it. I didn't realize the float was town property, and it's sort of nice to know
the
now.
harbor master asking
Yes,
them for the money?
yes, yeah, so this was a
Instead of
harbor,
us.
yes,
So it'll fall
Well,
under the recreation bucket.
Harbor master uses, and apparently the answer was yes.
Yeah, it is also a piece of equipment that's used by the harbor master on a regular basis. So Jake had spoken to it in previous meetings.
Mm.
And yeah,
I just find this under the category of, we having a prop 2.5 override, and when are we gonna get serious about things we just don't need? And I don't think we need this. This is a nice to have, it's not a need to have. But, if the CPC wants to spend their money there, when people are going to more and more say, why are we at a 3% CPC rate when this is the kind of thing that it's being used for? I would be perfectly happy myself voting down and going back to the 1%.
so
This
if,
is-
Because
I,
if CPC has a bucket for recreation,
yes,
and they have to like stay within those 3 buckets. This is a very arguably a efficient way of using. I don't know, efficient's a bad word. Sorry, you'll probably disagree with me on that, but it's appropriate because this is, yes, used by the harbor master, but it's also used by people in town for recreation.
Now, I can only say, Karen, I'm not gonna disagree with you. I had a boat in this town for 15 years. Never saw anybody there, didn't know anybody who ever went back there. Never came up in conversation, complete mystery to me that this existed. Now you guys are aware of it. I'm coming from a point of view is that it's not necessary, but. That said. I know I'm in the minority there. I just think that this is silly. And it's something we're gonna be doing all the time. It's another one of the, because it's in the ocean and the ocean rots things. I don't know that. Okay. And this would certainly, it either has to be completely removed or replaced. I'm not gonna argue that. That's a piece of crap.
I'm with Alex on there's so few public access points around the town that this is one of the, I'm there all the time. I mean, there's no question. My kids use it. We're kayaking, we're fishing. I think this is one of the very, very few public access points in this town that hasn't been taken over by wealthy people.
I
would concur with that.
At one
I would
time, you know,
concur with that.
we went looking for kayak input places, and a lot of the places that are listed don't exist anymore, or they're so hard to get at that it's.
You can't park, both, a lot of them, you can't, you can't park a car next to it. I mean, it goes back to, there was a CPC article on, and I wanna go back probably 10 to 12 years now, where we approved money to have signage put up at all of those spots, and that was never done.
Something like 12, 13 members of the town.
Oh, there's more than that. I wanna say there's close to 20.
Could be.
Yeah,
Officially.
yeah.
It's definitely been during my time. I can remember the issue and vote. So, what do you want to do, Alex? Do you want to take a motion on each one as we go along?
I mean, I'm happy, if there's further discussion and, it's, this is a little new for me, so there are folks from the members of the public that are on. We normally don't have that. So, if there's questions, I'm happy to take questions from you guys. Just throwing it out there. You don't have to, but, something we're not, we haven't seen very often.
Hi, this is Christine Bell here.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you doing? I
Good.
just wanted to follow up with Andrew's point. There's like 5 or 6 public ways to the water on Washington Street. And most of them have been cut off. And even Shipyard has become harder to access sometimes because the neighbors use it as their parking lot.
Yeah.
So I would just say that I would agree with what Andrew said, and I'd want to keep access to that particular space open. If you don't have it there, the kids are still going to jump off the Bluefish River, and it's going to become a lot more dangerous for them to get in and out of the water. That's the other thing.
Yeah. And I think if I remember, can someone fact check me? Do you need a sticker to park at that Shipyard?
You don't anymore. They took them off. I don't know why they did. They took them off, but so it doesn't seem like you do anymore. Although that is what it's supposed to be. They took off. There used to be signs saying that you needed one, or that you needed to be living in Duxbury.
Okay, because I think, and I guess the other point is this is one of the very few spots where you don't need a sticker.
Yeah.
And it's like that lot on the west side of the bridge, it's you don't need a sticker, and it's
Is that a good thing? I mean, if you don't need a sticker, you don't have to be a resident.
That's true, but I mean, it's.
Well, the one other thing that I did talk about in this one, and I am gonna vote no, but that's fine, it's gonna pass. Just from a legal viewpoint, somebody eventually is gonna get hurt jumping off that bridge. It's never happened, but that doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And we know there's a certain point every day, twice a day, that is not safe anymore to jump off, but it looks like it's okay.
Yeah.
If somebody gets hurt and they sue the town, one of their arguments is gonna be, well, town provides a gangway here for kids. And it comes up in discussions all the time that that's one of the uses for it, is to provide for the kids that jump off the bridge. Well, that's gonna look really bad in court. That's, right.
I'm
So
gonna
is there
support it,
any
Laura.
signs there to say use at own risk, or that there should be?
Yeah, that doesn't hold any water for, no pun intended, that doesn't hold any water for kids who don't read signs anyway, so. I mean, that's more for the adults, the parent who drops them off. But how many, the parents aren't even dropping them off half the time, they can get there anyway.
Well, I think they should put a sign, no jumping, to protect this town. They do that many places. There's a giant bar down in the Virgin Islands that has a giant sign, no jumping, and everyone takes a picture and jumps off next to it. But it is for liability. So
I'm gonna support it, even though I'm conflicted with the issue of the safety of the bridge. Number of years ago, the rites of passage were jumping off the Powder Point Bridge, and that moved to the Bluefish River Bridge, and so we closed the Bluefish River Bridge. What is the next bridge?
Right.
I think when we were younger, we did a lot more dangerous things than that.
Yeah.
That, yeah, things have kind of regulated out of existence for it.
But you may not have sued the town if you got injured.
You just got slapped in the head by your parents, or
Exactly.
something, you do something that stupid.
All right, are we ready for a motion?
I'll move to approve the $21,000 request for replacing the Bluefish float tank.
second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? All right, motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1, 0. Oh, excuse me, 6, 1, 0. Adam, Karen, Candy, Alex, Frank, Andrew, 6, 1, 0. Sorry.
Excuse me, this is Lynn. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, sorry, who's that?
Link.
Oh,
Link.
oh. Hey, Link, how you doing? Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't recognize the phone number. Link, are you in support of the Bluefish River?
yes, I am. Yeah,
Okay.
aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so 7, 7, 1, 0. All right, moving on to the John Alden gravestone replacement. So my understanding is this is a replacement of a replacement of a replacement. And certainly within the historic guidelines of the CPC. So it's gonna be Alden Kindred is giving 4,000 and the CPC is covering 8,000 for the total cost of a $12,000 gravestone marker.
What's the going rate for a gravestone marker, like a modern one today?
Like
Big hunk of granite.
that's what, that was gonna be my first comment. So most of them are granite now because they last.
They're granite, they're polished,
Right.
there's a lot of, sometimes there's a lot of detail on there, skillful scroll work. What does that cost? I'm just curious. I mean, is it 12,000? Is it 25,000? Is it 2,000? I don't even know. I have no idea.
I don't know. I can't, but this, this one is definitely going to be slate in keeping with
Well,
the,
yeah, I get that,
yeah.
but that just seems so expensive for a hunk of slate. It's fragile to begin with.
Yeah.
Did they not say last night too, that they struggled with it as well, and that there was an attempt to get a couple of quotes, and that really this was the best that they actually could get. They too, looked at that price tag and had some trouble with how much it was, but it is what it is for
Yeah.
what was available.
You are correct in that, Karen.
Any other thoughts? All right, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request. $8,000 of CPA funds for the replacement of the John Alden gravestone.
Can I get a second?
Second,
All right, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ling, are you an aye?
Yes, aye. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries, 8-0-0.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the next one. This is the, Harbor Walk. I don't know if you guys remember from the special town meeting. This donation sort of came up from Duxbury Rural Historic to grant an easement to construct this harbor walk. This is the funding mechanism to construct that harbor walk. Duxbury Rural is contributing 3560 of the project and asking CPA for 20,165. And you know, there on the presentation, you see there is a map with the with Washington Street and Mattakesett, you know, showing the path will be sort of right next to that, right next to sort of where Sweetzer's, I just gave myself, the Sweetzer's building ends. Any questions, comments?
I hope it get used.
I do too. I mean, it's, when I have to park on Washington Street to use the town pier because it's all parked out by, all the oystermen.
Yep.
Walking down Mattakesett Court stinks.
Scary.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Riding down it.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, personally, I hope they put a bike rack in there.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
That's a
Well,
great
that's-
idea, Alex, because that's the one thing, it's great to have, but you gotta find parking unless you live in that area. It's difficult when.
yeah,
Times.
you know, I mean, everyone's seen it, right, up and down Washington Street on a busy Saturday or Sunday in the summer, and cars are parked. Oh, you know, from Sweetzer's all the way up to the Legion. I mean, it's,
Having done that walk many times, it's unfortunate that it's not on the other side of Mattakesett, because that's where all the traffic is, that's. where
Yes, that's the
everybody's
longer-
parked up that way.
yes,
So this will have people cross Mattakesett to use it.
yeah,
Hopefully it becomes a habit that they adopt, but I have a feeling that a lot of those people are just gonna walk right
Still
down
walk down,
Mattakesett,
yeah.
because it's
it's
one more
convenient.
block more that you have to walk,
Right,
which is silly.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of it, I mean, I just think.
I'm pretty familiar with this, with Sabrina, and they really reached out to the community and they got a lot of donations. Like Nick Johnson's doing the tree work for free, and Eagle's Nest is doing a lot of the work for free. So I think they're being pretty frugal with their request of the funds. There's going to be a lot of volunteers helping with this, so I think, you know, this is exactly what they need. So
you got some Eagle Scouts working on it, Andrew?
I'm trying to get one Eagle Scout working on it. So yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the $21,165 for CPA funds to fund the part of the Harbor Way that we've been asked to fund.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, thanks, Adam. All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Lane. Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries 8-0-0. All right, Article 21, these are the fireproof cabinets for the town clerk. The CPA has been sort of funding these file cabinets over the years. last one was in fiscal year 21. We keep making records in town and need to keep them forever. So I think this is gonna be something that continues. My understanding though, just sort of an interesting factoid, I guess, that goes along with this is, they're running out of room in the basement to store these, so this is gonna live. They're trying to, I think, figure out, if I remember correctly, Mary, they're trying to sort of figure out where this one will end up.
Correct. And
So-
I think part of that, I mean, we're still trying to figure out logistics, but at some point, some folks will be vacating some of the office space here in Town Hall to move into the new DPW facility. So we may have an opportunity to do some reorganization here on the first floor of the Town Hall.
Perfect. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I'm looking up fireproof drawers right now. File cabinets. They're really expensive.
Oh, they sure are. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Karen.
Purchase of fireproof file cabinets for $33,000 using CPA funds, town clerk.
Any in a second? All right, thanks, Frank. All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries 800. All right, we are on to Article 22. Expansion of, this is just design and engineering of a seating complex on what is now the visitor side of the turf field at the Steel Athletic Complex. And I think these pictures are ideas of what they might do.
Do they have a ballpark estimate of what this would cost?
They don't. I don't know, Ken, I always sort of use the
Tim,
this is design is about 10% of the construction.
That's what I said.
yeah, initial conversations have been in about the $400,000 range, but we won't know until it's been designed.
And that how will that final project be funded? Like, where could you go for that money?
We could potentially go back to CPC. There would be some restrictions on some of the costs, but we won't know until we sort of see what the design includes and what options we might have. One of the things that they did want to stress with this particular project is that ADA compliance is one of an important factor in the design of this process. But future funding, it may fall under the town's regular capital program. Some of the costs may be eligible under the CPC funding mechanism. We will cross that bridge once we have the design and determine what level of support we have for that project.
Seems like we have ADA compliant seating on the other side of the field. I mean, we're there a lot.
Yeah, and I guess in all fairness, right, there's a curb cut. And you can be at ground level. Which I don't disagree with. I would make the point that if you go to, I've certainly been to other towns where the ADA seating is elevated, so you can actually see the game.
I think that it would be an ideal situation to be able to have this expansion of seating for guests that come. I worry about an investment of $48,000 today for a major capital project in a year or a year and a half's time with everything else that we're facing. Because if we can't get it through capital, we can't get it from some means of funding, then, you know, for how long do we feel, and maybe it's longer than I think, but that whatever type of design and engineering and cost factor, like for how long are we gonna have to go back and do it again if we're too many years out?
Yeah,
we
I
know
guess.
Sorry,
Oh,
do we
go
know
ahead.
what's, do we know what is in that reserve if all of these projects are approved, like the tennis courts? What would be the remaining balance under the recreation?
Give me 1 second, because I think at that meeting, they gave the fund
They did.
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah, and my wife has moved everything in the house, so.
So I can tell you that the balance as of July 1 in the open space bucket, if you will, is $365,646 as of July 1. That does not include the allocation that will go into that reserve at the upcoming July 1. That allocation is going to add another 224,000.
There's also the unallocated bucket too.
That is correct. And just, you know, just sort of for point of reference, now that the CPC percentage has been increased to 3%, the estimate that we are anticipating to generate in FY26 is about $2 million.
So to Mary or anybody else on the committee, do you have an idea of some of the projects that maybe CPC or anything that's like kind of on the horizon for them? Like, have they communicated that they feel like they could do this in a timely fashion based on the other things that are on their priority list?
To do what? Undertake the entire construction, Karen? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like let's say we move forward with this, do they feel that this is going to be an attainable project because of everything else that they kind of have in the queue? That they, with the revenue that you're talking about coming in, that it would be a feasible study for them, not study, I'm sorry, a feasible project for them to complete.
So I definitely don't want to speak on behalf of CPC. So I can't fully answer that question. I do know that we would certainly entertain some private partnerships potentially with, you know, if we were to pursue this project. So I think the design, to answer your question, I think the design would have some longevity. You know, that property, there's no other plan to do anything with that hill right now, short of doing this project. So, you know, there would not be any other construction projects around that property that would encroach or disrupt the design of this. So I think that would certainly have some longevity for us.
Yeah, for me, I'm a little conflicted because I think we have historically taken the position. Once we approve the design, you know, that the construction's coming.
Well, that's probably a comment that ought to go on the record is that if the CPC is approving the engineering and design work, it would be expected to fund the full project when the work is done.
Yeah, or have a plan, right, for it.
Right.
You know, whether that's, you know, soliciting private funds or CPC or. You know, but, and I guess maybe the flip side of that coin is. You know, do they need the design to then go to people with some renderings to say, you know, would you be willing to donate X for this design? And, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to it.
You need a motion?
Is any other questions, comments, concerns?
Christine Hill again. I just
Yeah.
have a concern generally about the CPC funds. I don't know if you followed on my blog, but we had there was a piece of land over in Tea Kettle Lane in Modoc that is right next to some wells and where we wanted to have a future well. And it was, the town tried to buy it. For some reason, we didn't buy it. And it ended up getting sand mined. And it's very, if you go and look at it, it's very destructive. It's it's been destroyed. It's awful over there. I'm just wondering why you're spending money on something like this instead of, I don't know if you can save this money for when really critical properties come on the market.
I think that goes back to there is allocation between like 3 different purposes. So again,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. So so you have X amount of dollars, and I would imagine this goes into open space or recreation. Then you have another for historical preservation, another, what's the third one, guys? It's
Housing.
Yeah.
thank you, housing. So I think that you can't like commingle it and say, we're going to move this money over so that we can get the land. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody else on the committee sees it differently. And so if we took this vote, we would thinking about what we might draw down on the recreation bucket. Does that sound right, Mary? That this is the bucket they would be taking that out of?
The open space.
It should be, hang on, let me just refresh my memory on the funding source. This was article, sorry, I was typing.
That's all
right.
22.
This is designated to come out of the unreserved, if you look at the description of it, out of the unreserved undesignated fund balance.
But I appreciate what Christine is saying. I think that's kind of like what I was getting to earlier on, is that we have had instances in which we have not been able to move forward on certain projects, right? So when you spend down out of a certain category, you kind of like to see if there was a long range plan. And there's been years in which we couldn't quite buy something and had to generate more revenue before we could go to get land for water and so forth. And that's kind of what my concern is that I just don't really we have to be prepared, I guess, for that $500,000 moving forward. And I just don't know what plan is in place for CPC and what might come up onto the radar that they want that we will not be able to do because we're doing ADA seating versus,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Karen. I apologize. I just want to remind folks that the way that the CPC program works is that there are annual applications, and those applications are considered for a specific year. So it's not like they're taking applications to build out a 10-year forecast for the use of CPC funding. That's not how the program is designed.
Is it fair to say though, Mary, that if I put in an application and it wasn't met this year, that I may put in for a future year? So it may come back, it almost kind of puts it on their radar screen that it may be something that they choose or they can't fund this year, but they kind of think it may come back around because it is a valuable request.
I'm sure that does happen, but they can only contemplate applications that come before them during that application cycle.
Yeah.
It's almost like I would rather have them commit to the full project. If they're committing to this, are they going to support the construction costs too? Or they say, no, we just give this small amount just to fund the design. So I would rather have them say, this is a $600,000 or $550,000 project, and we're looking to authorize the 48 now.
So I cannot speak for the CPC committee. Right, I do know that there is a level of interest in this project, but the application for construction would not be submitted until the design is done to understand the scope of what the project would entail.
Yeah, I think just, I guess, touching on Christine's sort of earlier point, I know there is a sort of master plan of properties that conservation and the town have in mind that surround our well sites, current and potential future ones that, you know, they have a list of these properties they would like to add on to. I know they're in the works potentially with one this year. So I am under the assumption that CPC has taken that into account with all of these applications as well. So that's sort of just one point, I guess I'll make. And the other is, you know, each of these articles will get debated on the floor of town meeting. And, you know, is it, our role is certainly to weigh in on it and comment on it. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, I think where we have sort of drawn the line historically has been CPC spending money on something that the average town person couldn't use. You know, what sort of comes to mind was, Karen, keep me honest, I remember there was a request for, I think it was the Camp Wing barn or something like that, and, you know, we asked, you know, would people be able to use this? I think they wanted siding or windows or something like that, and the answer was like, most likely not, you know, because it was on private property, and you know, so we voted it down. I think it went to the town floor. I think it did end up going to the floor of town meeting because they voted on the finance committee recommendations, and I believe it was voted down there, but just something to think about.
But Alex, under that definition, no resident would be using that site anyway, because that's the visitor's site.
My comment last night at the FinCom meeting was like, are we gonna make that side the home side now? But
It looks like it might be better than the home side.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So Alex, you're 100% right. And we did have to speak to it at town meeting because
Yeah.
people recognize that there was an inconsistency between the two committees. And it's kind of
Yeah.
funny because we have another one coming up here, and I was specifically going to kind of seek some guidance from the committee in terms of public access, you know, and yeah, that you're exactly right about that history. So I guess for me, there's almost a part of me that wants to just abstain on the vote because I'm kind of in the same camp as Candace, and that I think I have some concerns about spending $48,000 and then not sure, will we be able to fundraise to have it? Like, where will it be? So maybe abstaining and allowing the debate and the explanation to be had at town meeting. Since I think it's probably a valuable project, but I just don't have enough information on it. That's kind of, I think, where I'm settling.
Our conversation really is with the CPC and perhaps the school that's making the request. Because if they're intend on going back to CPC for the one, that would be more of a positive indication that somebody's thinking of this as a bigger
As a
picture.
whole project. Yeah, remind me, Mary, do you know who submitted this application?
I think it was the schools in conjunction with the facilities director.
Okay,
And I'm trying to reach out to Holly right now to see if she has an answer. So I will let you know as soon as if I hear back from her.
Do we want to skip it and go to the next one in the event that Mary does get?
yeah, let's keep it for now and see if we can get an answer back from Holly, and you know, we certainly can revisit.
I just looked, it was on the school's capital list.
Mhm.
But they had it lower down in the priority.
Correct. And my understanding is the existing seating is the capacity of the existing seating is about 250 people. And for some of your larger events, if you know that fills up and doesn't provide satisfactory access for people who want to use that facility. So I know that this is sort of on the school's horizon.
And that's gotta
So
be,
I
that's gotta be.
I just heard from Holly.
Okay,
And it says this, it appears to fit with, I asked her the question of whether CPC would be in favor of using CPC funding for the construction of the amphitheater seating when the time comes. And her response was, it appears to fit within the CPA guidelines, but we have to see the final figures and if there would be any matching funds from the school or fundraising. So they're open to it. But again, it's all based on cost and what other funding opportunities might be available. Does that answer the question?
At the best it can. Thanks for doing
Thanks,
that.
Mary.
Mary.
Sure.
yeah. We wanna hold this one and vote at a later meeting? Do we wanna vote? Do we wanna?
Well, I'll make the motion and we can just abstain if we choose to.
Okay, guys wanna handle it that way? That works for me.
I'll move that we approve the $48,000 request for the design and engineering of the Steel Athletic Complex seating expansion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Adam. All right, any further debate, questions, comments? All right, we have a motion, a second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Right.
All right, so 2, 3, 4, Adam.
Yep.
All right, I have 4 ayes. Oppose?
Me,
All right, I have 2,
I'll do the opposed too.
3. Okay, so I have Candy, Karen, and Andrew. Ling, are you opposed or abstaining or for?
I'm opposed to it at this point. I think it's something that we need to revisit.
Okay,
So I'm opposed to it right now.
right, so motion does not carry. It was 4, 4, 0. Okay. Good. All right. All right, we are on to the Nathaniel Windsor House, which is, let me just get my notes. This is Article 23. Restoration of Nathaniel Windsor Junior House windows.
Alex, this falls into kind of like what we were talking about with the Camp Wing property. Does anybody know if Duxbury residents have access to the property?
I believe, and Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is the Rural Historical Society's headquarters,
Correct.
which is open to tours.
I had a meeting there this morning. Yesterday morning. It's open to anyone. You can actually have meetings there.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah,
I'll move that we approve $41,328 of CPA funds to fund the restoration of Nathaniel Windsor's Junior House windows.
perfect. Can I get a second?
they'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
This was for the whole house, as I recall.
Yes, this is for the whole house at Agricultural too.
Because they usually cost about 10,000 a window, so I'm wondering if that's only 4 windows.
I didn't realize they're that expensive.
No, it can't be. There's another 30,000 they're paying, so.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
oppose? Abstain? All right, motion carries 800. All right, that was Article 23, so on to Article 24, which is the tennis courts at Wadsworth. So I think we're familiar with this. This was the one Steve came in and it was gonna originally resurface these two. For $48,000, and we asked him to go back to see what a full restoration of those courts would be. Originally, we thought it would be in the $250,000 range, and sort of pleasantly surprised, I guess, that it was less than half. And so I think our advice back to Steve was, let's not waste money on a 2-year or 5-year fix when we can get a 20-year restoration. If I remember correctly, Steve said that these courts, if we didn't do anything this year, would have to come out of service. They were in that tough a shape. So my understanding is if nothing's done on these courts, they sort of come out of inventory, probably for this coming season until they're repaired, replaced. Well, either, repaired or replaced.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for $118,000 to reconstruct 2 tennis courts at Wadsworth Park.
I'll second.
Thanks, Candy. Any other further discussion, questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? You better get your tennis game in order, Andrew. Grant's gonna take it to you out there.
We do use this one a lot, so they're in rough shape. They're in very bad shape. So,
All right, so. All right, we're through all of the CPC articles. The other 3 that I think we should consider voting on, would be the beach lease. I have a question on 14, that's the PFAS one, right?
Let me get there. Presume you're asking me, Alex.
Yes, right here.
Oh, yep, that is PFAS.
Okay. Does that have a number? Is that 38 million?
No, it is still under construction, if you will. That does not,
Okay.
but it does not have a $38 million price tag.
Got
It will be some, the current proposal is somewhere between 0 and 2 million. Is that fair
Got
to
it.
say, Candace?
It's 2 million. I didn't know it became a 0, but if we need to meet the regulatory timeline, we need to appropriate more funds up through July of 2026. And the 2 million would be for the 1.6 for the engineering and permitting, and then another 400,000 for the owner's project manager.
Do we want to hold off on that one until we?
I would prefer if you held off, because the town manager has indicated that this is a draft warrant. And that's one of the articles that has not been finalized yet.
Got it. What about, are we okay with doing the beach lease and the historic district, 10 and 15?
I would ask that you hold off on the beach lease for right now.
Okay,
Although the amount has been sort of submitted to us, there's been some conversation about trying to negotiate the beach lease ahead of town meeting.
got it. Okay. What about 15? Is 15 sort of set? The historic district around town hall?
Yeah, I'm not, that's not a money article, so I'm not familiar with that one, but you guys can take that up if you have the info.
Yeah,
Would we take that up if it's not a money article?
so we have taken up this type of article in the past. And so 2 or 3 years ago, when they wanted to put most of the school campus and in a historic district along with sort of the right building there and that article actually ended up getting IP'd. We debated it sort of at length. Jim was very sort of adamant about that one. And I don't disagree with why are we putting town assets into a historic district? Sort of, who are we protecting it from? And
Ourselves.
right, and are we doing things that as a town, it's gonna make it harder for us to renovate, restore,
Yeah.
do things,
Yeah.
so that was. I wanted to just bring that up to the group of, was it something we wanted to talk about?
Remind me, what are the benefits of the historic district?
Um,
I mean, there's benefits to, let's say it's a private residence
mhm,
or even a couple. And you want to set forth, you're hurting yourself,
yes,
that you don't want anything done to this.
right,
Nobody's gonna put a big mansion up in my property.
right,
So I can do that, and it's all, the only person you're hurting really is your future resale value.
correct.
Yeah, I would think that there's no reason in the world why we would want to do town property in a historic district.
Isn't it really just geared towards like a commitment to historical preservation?
It is, for sure. And I think, there are certainly, homeowners in town who have put their homes in in their own historic district and, want to preserve the character, and there's certainly a lot of arguments around the character and nature of Duxbury are the homes and buildings and the landscape of the community. Which I fully appreciate.
Yeah,
I think
who's
the
the
only thing we
petitioner?
would be doing is impairing a future town meeting
Right,
from doing something with that property, because it's all town property.
right.
It's
Um,
like,
Who's the petitioner?
It's the
So
local-
last time,
It says it's sponsored by the local historic district commission.
yeah,
well, they probably want everything to be a historic district.
correct,
That's the kind of thing.
yes.
Oh, boy.
It's really fascinating putting the town in the position of being a homeowner.
Yeah.
I feel
And-
exactly the same way.
And we, town meeting has, these types of things have come up before. Town meeting has put some of our structures into historic districts. I believe if I remember correctly, I believe the Wright Building ended up in a historic district.
It is.
And the library, I
Yes.
believe, is a historic district now. I don't know if there are any others, I believe you'll laugh at this, Vinny, the building next to Bluefish. That the harbor master uses. I believe that building in last year's town meeting was put into the historic district.
I wonder if there's grants. I wonder if through Massachusetts Historical or others, you are seen more favorably on grants because you're doing historical preservation?
I mean, that would be the only benefit I could see. If
If that ever
opened up-
came up, then I would call for a special town meeting to make it a historic district to obtain the grant. Back on it now, I just, yeah, I can see what Jim was coming from, and to me, it just seems really wrong-headed. So,
You wanna vote?
I mean, so it's funny, if you look at the warrant and they'll. When they draft the warrant, they put, FinCom and select board and, so they didn't have us under there, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to crowbar us in there and put us in there, because we have commented on these things in the past.
We are sort of the enabling committee for assets of the town.
Correct.
I don't object to the vote.
Well, I would move that we approve the request for creating historic properties, whatever that is,
It's a historic district for Old Town Hall.
for Old Town Hall.
I'll second.
Just single Old Town Hall?
From it goes, there's a.
I
Which you
have
can
to
bring.
phrase it positively, right?
Yes, you have to,
Okay.
yeah, you have to put it in the affirmative. It goes from Tremont Street. Straight up, yeah, but excludes,
With the memorial in
church.
the front of it
Yes.
and parking in the back, yeah.
yes,
I move that we approve the request to make the Old Town Hall property a historic district.
Second.
thanks.
Oh,
Karen.
I'm sorry, before you, Alex, this is Mary. And I'm just gonna jump in real quick, and I apologize because before you take your vote. The Old Town Hall is the one that the town manager occupies, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, all right. I just show up at town hall. I don't distinguish between the two buildings.
Yeah,
So my question, and I don't know the answer, so I'm gonna throw this out there as a question. At our last town meeting, we approved funding to address the siding on that building.
Yep.
The back of that building is in really, really poor shape.
Yep.
And I wonder if classifying these buildings as historic will adversely impact our ability to do those repairs that the town has already supported.
I think so, Mary. I want to, not only siding, but windows.
Mm,
Any kind of
It-
restoration is going to be taken to a higher standard.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we
Remember
approved some funding under Article 6 for that last year, and the question we had was, can we go to CPC for that? And if I remember, the answer was,
The
they
answer's
had approved it a number of years ago, and you can't go back to the well.
Jeez.
Did they approve it and fund it and didn't want us to come back to the well for a second round?
Yeah.
Did they,
So
they approve it under, it could not have been under the historic bucket, so it must have been under the unreserved. Bucket.
Or
I thought it was under historic, but I don't.
CPC, okay.
Yeah, CPC, I believe it was funded, it was, and I think there was a distinction between. When they funded it originally, it was siding and paint, and I believe last year's was just paint.
That is correct, yeah.
And then remember First Parish next door?
Yep, the
We did the
steeple,
windows.
yep,
Yeah.
all right, we have a motion and a second, is there any other discussion, any other questions? All right, we ready to vote?
Yep.
All right, all those in favor, aye. All right, we have one opposed, abstain. Lig, I didn't get where you fell.
Yeah, I would say aye on that.
Okay. So the motion does not carry 2-6-0.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll hold off on beach lease and PFAS. All right, let me just flip to my
That may be
agenda.
a vote that nobody ever finds out about.
What's that?
So there may be a vote that nobody ever finds out about it, because if it doesn't make it into the warrant,
No, well, so I'll make, so now we've taken a vote, I'll
So
let
we
Brady
will-
know,
we'll have
it'll
to
be
let-
printed in the warrant. Yeah, it's nice that we took it now, so it'll get printed in the warrant.
yeah.
All right, all right,
Just a comment, there probably is a role for the notion of historic properties, the yacht club's working in that direction. For the Matakeesit House and for the Sprague Parker and the Ellison Building. But that role, however, moves into the notion of providing charitable funding for the repair and maintenance of those buildings. So there is a role for that, but it'd be nicer to have it presented to us in that context.
right.
Just to add that to the record.
Got it. So those buildings would then sort of be their own nonprofit, is that?
Correct.
Got it,
And the money that you can use only on the outside, this exterior. to
Got it.
Preserve it. The
Okay.
inside becomes.
Yeah.
Redoable.
all right, all right, so that's everything in item 1 of the agenda that we can tackle tonight. Mary, have we certified retained earnings yet for the water enterprise?
No, we have not. As I,
Okay,
yeah, both free cash and retained earnings get certified at the same time. And as I explained to you or to the committee last night, excuse me, sorry. You caught me eating cheeses. The accounting office had a vacancy. Our town accountant had left back in the fall. And we were without a town accountant for several months, didn't replace that position until early spring. So we have been delayed in submitting our certification for free cash and retained earnings. It has been submitted to the Department of Revenue, and we are waiting for their final certification on that, which I'm hoping will be forthcoming within about a week.
okay, perfect. And I guess just, so we put this on, we were sort of hoping that retained earnings would be certified, but the punchline is, what we're hoping to certify is in excess of what we thought our budgeted retained earnings were gonna be when we voted water enterprise. So once free cash, once retained earnings for water is certified, there's probably a couple water requests that we can go back and look at, that will have some more funding sources for those. There was the, $1.5 million or $2 million pipe replacement request that we funded I'll give you a ballpark, so it was like $570 something thousand. And we picked that 570 number because it fit into the budget we had at the time, so we think we'll have some more budget, so we could hopefully fund that pipe replacement at a greater amount. But we will do that once retained earnings are certified. So that's sort of, that's that. And then there's, the next was, I put on just the 26 override as a discussion point. Mainly just to see if there were any questions from our committee that, either you wanted to bring up or wanted me to bring up to FinCom or the select board, or I can sort of tell you what I know.
Not directly on that topic, but how did your meeting go last night?
Oh, with FinCom?
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. They voted in line with us. I had them hold off on voting water. Because I was hoping we could revote that tonight. And I had them hold on 2 line items at the school, and I will put it on a future agenda. but the school came back to us and asked to re-look at the allocation for the technology budget, which is somewhere in the ballpark of $85,000. And the $100,000 that we allocated to the loading dock.
Loading dock seems to have been something that's come up many times now.
So Katie was able to have the DPW repair the drainage for the loading dock. And thinks she can pick that project down the road another year or so. So she was okay postponing that project. Lisa Freely would like us to try to more completely fund their $300,000 technology request. So, that's why I had FinCom sort of hold off on those two. Like I said, I'll put it on a future agenda so that this committee can kick it around. But
And we did not approve the loading dock.
we did.
We did?
So we approved the $100,000 loading dock and I think it's 86 and change $1,000 for their technology budget, which was a $300,000 ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but other than that, yeah, the meeting last night went well. The one, we did end up, going over, I downloaded the 5-year projections from ClearGov. And presented those to FinCom last night to have a conversation around, anticipated spend over the next 5 years. And, actually, let me share that with you guys.
Alex, while you're doing that, can I just say, I do really appreciate how much time you've spent, again, like last night, speaking on behalf of our committee with FinCom, and I was on and I heard you and you're thorough and very knowledgeable. I just really appreciate what a good face you put forward for the work that our committee does, and then also all the extra time you spend in all these other subcommittees. From the override on, but last night I was just really appreciative of you because I think that you're able to articulate really the amount of work that goes in to the recommendations and so forth. So that's a little puff piece for you, but it's real.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it, but it's, you guys do a lot of the research. We all have pretty good notes, so it's easy for me to sort of recall from our notes that we all have, and I think we have I think we put a lot of thought into those recommendations. So it's, you guys make it easy for me to present. But I certainly appreciate that. Thank you. Can you guys see my screen? I know it's a little small, unfortunately, to sort of get everything to fit, but this is just a download from what we've seen in ClearGov, and the points I sort of made with FinCom last night were a couple of things. So the first thing I sort of talked about was if you look at these 26 and 27 budget years, they're pretty big anomalies. Mainly because of the PFAS projects that are in the capital budget. And what we're used to seeing is something in this like $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million ask annually for capital. And so my sort of first point to FinCom was there are some big ticket items, if you didn't know, PFAS being one of them. And so that's sort of skewing the 5-year projections. The other items that I talked to FinCom about last night was with some of the new department heads that have come in that bring their own subject matter expertise, they are bringing to light some maintenance items and some infrastructure things that need to be addressed in the near future. And, we've seen them with a number of our requests starting this year of, the jump in water main replacement ask, the jump in HVAC, both town and school, roof, both town and schools, and we see that in this budget projection of, billions of dollars for pipe replacement and hundreds of thousands of dollars for HVAC and roof maintenance, preventative maintenance, and repairs going forward. So, those were the themes that we were talking to FinCom about, because the discussion needs to go at some point, whether is this capital or should this be operating, or is there something else? Because given our current annual budget that we're typically dealing with for Article 6, we already have, there's an annual ask, we know, for police cruisers. We've approved Chromebooks that are coming back for another 2 years. There's a constant technology updating and replacements. Now you add on roof and HVAC, pretty much, we're gonna get to a point where there's not a ton that we're gonna have left for other things.
Yeah, I mean, does the override is done with the concept of sustainability, and yet it's something we haven't addressed in our capital spending in forever, which is, we because we can only allocate so much $7 million ask, and we allocate 2 million, and that happens every single year. Well, they're asking for that for a reason.
Yeah.
And we're not ever getting to them until there's a big problem, and then they have a big bill.
Yeah.
A new building.
Yep.
And I think I'm a little disappointed that the sustainability aspect of this was not addressed. They didn't address capital. They really didn't.
Yeah, I guess the sort of indirectly a little, and I guess my final point to the FinCom was, if we don't have an override, it's highly unlikely any free cash is getting generated next year, which, as we all know, is how we pay for our capital budget. So there's probably not a whole lot of things getting approved unless we're gonna start debt financing everything.
It's a problem.
That's a very good point.
One of the interesting things was the conversation about their concern also with curriculum for the schools coming
Yeah.
into and not wanting to see that as a new standard moving forward.
Yeah.
See. I've said this from the beginning, I don't see any reason why curriculum is part of the capital. Simply is, it's their operation.
Yeah, I mean, I can,
I know.
while it technically meets the definition, it's, I sort of put it in.
The police guys.
Well, you could argue police cars, you could argue software costs. I mean, we know what those things are.
If the curriculum is a capital asset, then so are the teachers. I mean, is the curriculum the gas that goes in the vehicle that produces the product?
Right.
Can I make a comment about the curriculum?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I'm just gonna advise you guys that their curriculum process is extremely wasteful. They have 3 curriculum directors and they're on a 5-year review process for all the curriculum. And technology can change kids' brains and the cognitive psychology doesn't change. And so you don't need to constantly change the curriculum if you have a good curriculum. And so my concern is, and something you might want to look into, is whether you're having unnecessary curriculum changes because they're just generating busy work for themselves.
And yeah, I got it. You're a little faint, Christine, but I think I got it. And I
Can
guess
repeat they're wasting time reviewing curriculum. Kids' brains don't change. And a lot of the curriculum changes they make are actually damaging. So the latest reading one is not, but if you were to discourage them from changing the curriculum all the time, you would probably help the kids and save money. That's the point.
I did talk to a math teacher in the high school, or he's had, well, I won't say individual's name, but he is not in support of changing the curriculum or upgrading it. He said what we have now works, and it's almost like it's creating a lot of confusion unnecessarily by introducing these new curriculums. And that was on the math program. I didn't talk to anyone on the other
English language.
Yeah, the literacy one, I think, and I think the reason we sort of got over the hump on that one was the old one was non-compliant.
Right.
Which is sort of how we got over the hump on that one, but
But it was non-compliant for what was regarded as good reasons originally.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
those good reasons were because of the excellence of the departments that were building the curriculum.
Well, it was apparently the if I remember I think Karen, you sent that article around of the, it was.
I did, yeah.
Okay,
Alex,
sorry, yeah.
Alex, if I might just jump in for a sec, just in fairness to the school district, I know that you guys had them in there to talk about curriculum. And in fairness to them, if there's sort of still some unanswered questions or some concerns about whether this needs to be done or whether this fits under capital, I would urge you to either to reinvite the school department in to answer the questions, because I think we're sort of treading into areas of speculation and maybe some inflammatory remarks.
I'm sorry, Mary, this is extremely well informed. I have been studying these issues.
Christine, I didn't say my comments were directed at you. I'm asking Alex if you would like to talk back to.
That was so inappropriate. The school is wasting a lot of money, and after the second to last superintendent we came in and fixed all the math curriculum problems that they've now messed up again. And so we had an increase in the math performance, and it was a great relief to all the teachers, and we didn't need as many tutors. But this is a public meeting with people talking, and I just don't think it's inappropriate to go in and make a comment like that.
As I had indicated, it appears that there are some questions or concerns about it. And I think if that's the case, I would urge you to reach out to the school department and invite them back into a future meeting to continue that conversation. That's all I'm saying.
All right, you're a staff member, and I'm talking with other residents of Duxbury about this.
Christine, thanks for sharing your thoughts, and I appreciate it when people do jump in on our meetings. As you say, we're all residents of the town, and it is good feedback. I appreciate it, and I probably dragged us into this when I shouldn't. It was probably a little bit more of just an observation that there's more discussion to have around it. And to Mary's point, we may just need to do a little more with the schools, but you know, we do appreciate that you're here and that the work that you're doing. And Alex, I don't know if you want to take it now on to, you know, to anything else on this particular screen.
Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, I think we, yeah, got a little off topic, but we were, you know, I was just sort of. I guess my final comment to, you know, the FinCom last night around the 5-year projections were, and as it sort of related to the override was, you know, if there's no override, there's no free cash, and, you know, this, you know, next year's projected budget, you know, including the $35 million for PFAS, is, you know, almost $50 million.
Right, but isn't there item,
So, go ahead,
Okay.
Candace.
but aren't there items listed in for 26 that didn't get funded, so they'll roll?
Oh, for sure, yeah, including the rollover from 26.
Yeah,
I guess my only comment on something you said at the beginning, which was, okay, if the loading dock is not a priority this year for the school, but now they have this technology, you want to see us increase it. As a committee that's looking at all of the capital expenses across the town as well as the schools. Well, I don't remember when we allocated that money for the loading dock. That it was a loading dock or technology, or was it something else that we pushed aside from some other part of the town?
Right,
That we should maybe reconsider
right,
our priority Bs. I'm
Right.
sure this was a B and not an A. Our priority
Right.
Bs, well,
yeah,
if you don't need the loading dock. Becomes, okay, you're asking for technology now, should it be something else instead that we kicked aside?
agreed, so I mean, yeah, but that's why I sort of wanted to bring up the fact that, you know, they think they can push, you know, and Katie has indicated they can push the loading dock out a year. The school has asked to move it over to technology, but there's a bunch of stuff in our column B
Yes, and
That
I'd like to
we-
relook at that.
that we should absolutely look at.
Okay,
So, yeah. So that's why I wanted, you know, just sort of set that up for, you know, a future meeting. Any other questions, comments, concerns on sort of either the FinCom or I guess the override, or is the agenda item we're on?
were there any other updates on Capital Crest? I see the backwash tank is now added at the bottom, but is that being handled?
Oh, so, yeah, so that, there's I know, well, I just remember that one, that one's actually, FinCom's gonna do an emergency reserve transfer for that. I think it's like $17,000-ish. So they can get that fixed immediately.
Okay,
So according to Katie, if those valves were to malfunction, we lose the building were her words. So they're gonna, my understanding is they're putting in for a reserve transfer to
Okay.
take care of that one immediately. And there were 6 or 7 other projects under Article 7 in capital A.
okay.
Can I ask a question? Can you guys just explain to me what happens to the free cash if we don't have an override?
Yeah. So, I guess, let me just walk it back a little bit. So when we budget, generally, operating budget, what happens at the end of the year is when funds are not spent by departments at the end of the year, that money gets certified as free cash at the end of the year. And that's been a process that historically has happened year after year after year. And that is part of the financial policies within the town, so that we can generate these funds that we use for our capital, historically for our capital budget. For article, to sort of fund Article 6 in the following year. I don't know if does that answer your question?
Yeah, so how much do you usually get?
So historically, it's been in the 1.5 to $2.5 million range.
Okay, and how much you're gonna get this year?
So we budgeted 2.1 this year.
You mean you budgeted from last year's free cash, or you forecasted 2.1 million?
So free cash is still in the process of being certified
Right.
for last year. But so we went off an estimate anticipating we would have available to Article 6 about $2.1 million.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, anything else?
Happy.
Okay. Do we have any minutes to approve?
I don't think so.
I didn't think
I haven't seen any.
so either.
We have minutes we need to be able to generate.
Yeah, the only one I can think of would be our meeting from December, which is the last one we actually had any deliberations and did anything other. The other meetings were we
12-11.
yeah, we just attended, well, no, 12-11 was us just attending the select board meeting, if I remember correctly.
No, last year, 24, December 11th,
Oh, December 11th, okay.
the police, recreation, fire.
Oh, yeah, so that would be. Let me see if we have those.
I do think I did have one when,
Look at my folders, that's will tell me what.
Alright, I don't see December 11th minutes in my folder, but that doesn't mean
I have the email, I can resend it to everyone. But I had the draft meeting notes issued out on December 11th meeting. Oh, no, wait a minute. December 4th, do we approve that one?
Yeah, because I thought, let me just look at, I'm just gonna look at the agenda for December 11th, give me one sec. Okay. Oh, yes, December 11th was the fees. I think that's the last for Board of Health, Recreation and Harbor Master. All right, so let me dig through my folders for a sec. I can't put my hands on December 11th minutes yet. So I'll put them together and I'll just put those on the agenda for our next meeting. Okay. At least I'm not getting
I have the draft minutes for 12:09.
okay. Speaking of
It's
which.
funny, without the minutes for 12:11, we can't see if the 12:09 were approved.
No, I know, well, 12:9, well, 12:9 was just attending the, select board meeting. We didn't deliberate, so we historically haven't done minutes for those types of things. I mean, we can, it would be very short, happy to do it.
Sorry, December 4th.
Oh, December 4th has definitely been approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, those have been sent to, the clerk.
Good.
All right, I'll get my hands on December 11th. That was the fees, Board of Health record, Harbor Master.
I have them all here.
Yeah, I mean, have all the,
Stuff.
yeah, I have all the
Materials.
notes and everything, so,
Look at my notes. Too.
but speaking of our next
Uh,
meeting.
I have no, I don't know if I attached. I have the draft from December 11th, or I have the minutes, but I don't think I have it approved.
Okay,
I'll just send it out.
all right, we have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. So I will put on, hopefully water will be certified by then, so we'll have water. We can talk through, the loading dock. Oh, and there's one other thing too, sorry, the Harbor Masters $90,000 float is now 60 grand, so we can reduce that, which is great.
Like pull that magic off.
He found it cheaper. Yeah. Oh, and one other thing, so I've reached out to Sheila to see, because we had talked about, there was the article from a couple of years ago for the fuel depot that we had approved somewhere in the ballpark of 70 grand, I'll get the exact number, but I reached out to Sheila to see if she wanted us to reallocate that to design of the fuel depot that's on our request list for this year. So I'm just waiting to hear back from her. So, next agenda will be water, loading dock, harbor master, fuel depot, I think. And that'll be next Wednesday, the 5th.
Good.
Cool.
For adjourn,
Yeah, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thanks.